Hello, I'm Katie Noonan, if I haven't met you, owner of Noonan's Wine Country Designs, and I'm going to show you how to make a wreath at home with this do-it-yourself kit, including this grapevine wreath, and this bouquet of greenery and accents, and then you'll also receive a little bag full of goodies. So when you get this wreath, you want to take everything out. The only thing you'll need to provide is a pair of clippers. If you have some gardening clippers, or if you don't have anything like this, maybe some heavy scissors, kitchen scissors or something should do the trick. So take out your items. I'll go through everything that you will receive in the kit. This is the bag full of we have a cinnamon stick, which you can break into 2s or 3s or cut. They break pretty easily, but I'm gonna break mine into 2. There's some ribbon. You can also use the ribbon that's tied on your bag, so you have kind of a couple options. That's the last touch that we'll add. There's also a couple orange slices if you wanna make more of a citrus theme with the cinnamon. You'll have some glue dots, which I'll show you how to use these, and then you'll have a little stick with some wire on it. So I'll show you how to use this. So once you have those out, then you can unwrap your bouquet of greens and accents and just lay things out. So included is 2 stems of magnolia leaves. We have this preserved wheat, which is dyed red. I just thought it would be a fun accent for this, and it will last forever. We have some just faux berries that you can add in if you want. We have cedar foliage. This smells great. There's a few different sprigs of those, and then we have some redwood foliage. So the foliage amount is probably not enough to fill your full wreath. Typically with a grapevine wreath, since it is very pretty on its own, we like to do maybe you could do a crescent accent, you can do a half shaped wreath with the greenery. So this is enough greenery for about half of the wreath filled in. If you want to do a full wreath with all the greenery, you might need to just pick up some more from like your local grocery store. Trader Joe's has greenery bouquets, or even the Christmas tree farms. So, but I will show you how to create a grapevine wreath with more of a focal point, and then adding some greenery into this wreath. It's a lot easier than starting with the wire shapes that you typically see with wreath forms. This will go a little bit quicker, and you don't need as much foliage. And it's not as tough to make. So this is kind of a simpler version of making a wreath at home. You're gonna take first the magnolia, just because this is a bigger, bulkier type of foliage. You're gonna take this, but you don't wanna you could, but I wouldn't just stick one of these in. You can take off some of the lower leaves, because these leaves can be added in. You can also cut this foliage. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna cut it so I have now 2 stems out of this magnolia. If I cut the other one, I can also take a couple leaves off the bottom. Those can always be tucked in later. And then I'm gonna cut this again. So now we have 4 stems of magnolia to work with. I'm gonna take one of the stems that was more of the tip, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna just decide where you want to and what shape you want with your items. I'm gonna probably make a little crescent shape here on the bottom. I'll pretend with you looking at me, this top is facing you. So I'm gonna start, and in the grapevine wreath, you'll see some of the vines that cross over. That's a good starting point to hold your first stems going in. So you'll tuck one of these bulkier magnolia stems down in there. And that's where this wire comes in handy. So now you can take this wire, and the wire will just kind of help secure the greenery a little bit more. Sometimes you can get away without the wire on the grapevine wreaths if you can get them stuck in there, but if you're gonna be outside, might be windy, you might wanna just secure it more. So these leaves I'll save for filling in later. But what we're gonna do with the wire, to start this, we're gonna go around one of those grapevines. So the ones that I said was coming over, you're gonna kind of just wrap it around a few times on there. And now you have a starting point. You don't wanna cut this wire. You wanna leave this attached to the stick and don't make any cuts until we're done. So now I just wrapped it, see I wrapped it in the inside and I'm coming around. And now I can add in another magnolia down here. And I can pull the wire over it. So now I know that wire will be holding that magnolia in, and just wrap it back around. Again, with the other foliage, and leave this wire, just, you can leave it sitting there, don't cut it. You're gonna cut the other, this is the cedar. I'm gonna cut it down into a few different pieces as well, so we can add these sprigs of the stem intermixed. I'm gonna do the same, just so you might wanna cut the pieces down before you start, just so you have a pile you can grab from as you create. So this is the redwood. I'm gonna cut it down into just different, about like that, heights. Cut some more cedar. So I have two piles kind of laying in the middle of this wreath just to grab from as I'm creating it. You can leave some of these stems long too if you want more of the droopy look with cedar or redwood. You can leave them long and you can always go back and cut them later. I just know that I like my style a little bit tighter, tucked in more. So now I'm just gonna take some of those sprigs, and with the wire, you can tuck them under the wire and then pull that wire again tight. But you also want to try and weave it into that grapevine so you know that it's secured two ways. Sorry. Now, you're going to pull this, again, over this. So now you have another area to kind of tuck your greens into. I'm going to take another magnolia. This one's got these leaves going the other way, so I'm gonna pop those off and just use the three that are laying the same way. And this time I'm gonna flip this one because I like the brown and the green contrast. I'm gonna tuck it in there, and it's more tucked under that wire. So you're gonna pull that wire straight. I swear it's not COVID. I just had some coffee and it went down the wrong pipe. Okay. Again, pulling this wire tight. I'm gonna tuck in that foliage under there. So for right now, you wanna just use the greens first, and then we'll go back and add the accents as your finishing touch. So get your greens going. I'm gonna pull another thing of wire. There's also the choice of going two different ways with the foliage. Like if you want the leaves facing this way to make kind of like a wing shape, or you can keep them going all the same way and finish with the bow kind of at the end of the leaves going that way. I think today I'm gonna do that, but you can choose to do either way and put the bow in the middle of the two and just have fun with this. So it's gonna be beautiful no matter what, because this is some really pretty foliage. Magnolia is so great for wreaths, and it preserves it. It might dry out, but that brown color will stay there, and it just stays really nice through the holidays. And the cedar and the redwood will stay fresh. So as you go along, if you have a spot on your wall, you can always test it out and see how it's laying. I'm gonna just kind of keep going and then test it out at the end, and then make some, you can snip some pieces at the end, or, so now I'm gonna take some of these individual leaves where they popped off and just tuck them in, the greens and the wire I have going. Almost kind of finish this. And remember, I still have this wire going without cutting it, so that it stays continuous and holds all that green in there. You can flip some of the magnolias different ways. If you do have a glue gun too, hot glue will hold the magnolia leaves in if you wanted to, and it won't damage them. So if you wanted to break out your hot glue gun, you can use that. Also for these or the dried items, you can hot glue items in if that's something that you like to do, but you don't need it. So I'm kind of gonna come to almost a stopping point with this. I'm gonna finish off my wire. So this is now when you can cut it. If you wanna finish it, I usually finish it in the back. So I'm gonna cut it, and you can just tie a knot, find another one of those pieces of the bigger grapevines going through, and wind it around there, and then you can tie like a knot and just twist it. And that will hold that there. So I'm gonna tuck some more greens in. Got one more magnolia leaf. Okay, so this is the finished style with the greens. So you can even kind of play with this. Stick there. So I could do it like this on the wall, and then add things here. You could also, you can move it around and see what looks best, or what you like best, or how it falls. Whoops, and see? Okay, that's bound to happen with some of those single stems. So you can also, this is what some of the glue dots are for. If you don't have a glue gun at home, you can take the glue dot, and it's a double-sided tape basically, but it's very strong. You can wrap it around the stem, take the white paper off, which is sometimes the trickiest part. And then once you have that glue dot on the stem, you can put it back into place where you wanted it in the wreath, and it will hold it. So once you decide how you want to arrange this wreath, I think I'm going to go with this style, so it's almost like a little half moon, and I'm going to put some of my accents right here. You can either choose to do this on the wall, or you can bring it back to your table. Sometimes it's fun to do it on the wall, then you can kind of see how it flows and falls. These stems can also be broken up and cut if you wanted to add like multiple areas, or you can just do one big sprig. I'm gonna take and do 2. There is wire in these, so if you have wire cutters, it's better, but if you don't, like I was able to get through and just bend them. So you can put this here. I'm gonna also, the wire is good, so if you still have, you should still have some wire left once you finish the greenery. I'm gonna bind these 2 pieces together. And you can either leave a long piece of the wire or you can glue dot them. So I'm gonna glue dot. So I'm gonna take one more of these glue dots and attach it to just the bottom of these. And I'm gonna just pop it in here. So I have the little red going through. With your orange slices and your cinnamon sticks, you're gonna wanna use some of that wire that you have on your stick, and kind of just play with the idea of where you want the grouping. They'll make more impact when they're together, maybe with all 4 of these elements, like the orange slices and the cinnamon sticks. They'll make more of a focal point in your wreath. So I'm gonna choose to do that and use more wire. I'll be right back. So with the wire, you can take and bound the cinnamon sticks together. You can wrap it around and twist it. But you wanna leave maybe a longer stem of this wire. You can also then take these orange slices and thread them through. Thread the wire through, kind of that fleshy part, or the hole in the middle. Kind of play with it. So now you take this wire and you can wire it into your wreath. So I'm just gonna bring this down. It's easier to work on the table. And thread it through one of those. If you have one of the bigger grapevine pieces, you can do that, or you can find a piece of or just do a longer piece of wire and go all the way around. I'm just going around a couple of the smaller grapevine pieces, and then twisting it. So you kind of had the accents of the cinnamon and these, and if you wanted to, you could also glue dot these to hold them in a specific place that you want them. So you can kind of use the glue dots if you want to glue dot them to the cinnamon sticks, or you can like let them flow and kind of hang. That works for that. The last little accent, if you wanted to do them, was these wheat that have been dried red. And you can kind of play with it if you wanted to do just sprigs coming out there. You can just cut these. I mean, I cut them at different heights so you have kind of different dimensions. You can either pop them in by just poking them through the grapevine. Like that. You can also cut them smaller, like these ones. Just put a glue dot around 2 of them or 3 of them. And then chop it in to the wreath. Try and get it onto a piece of the grapevine, not just the foliage. The grapevine will be a lot more sturdy for you, for sure. You can do that with these other ones. I'm gonna do it again with a few more. I think there's probably about 10 of these in there, so. You can also choose to like spread them out. Do a few sprigs up here. I'm gonna bring these down here so I have my color focus right there. And yeah, that's, oh, forgot the bow. Gotta figure out where I'm gonna put my bow. So, I know when I have the workshops in person, a lot of people just ask me to do the bow for them. So, a couple simple ways you can do this at home. If you don't want like a full-blown loopy bow, you can also just tie a knot. You can just go around the back of the wreath. You could tuck it in here. You could just tie a simple little knot. This is wired ribbon, so it can make for, you can play with it and make it curl or twist. So that's a simple, very simple. Anyone can do that one. Another option would be to bring it up, tie it here. And you could tie a knot here too. You could do one of those little horse knots where you have a loop up top and the tails down below. And again, you can play with the shape, the curls of the ribbon, something like that. Another option would just be to tie the knot up higher, have them loop down. You don't want to cover up your fun stuff. Another option would be to add the bow up here. So if you wanted to do a bow up here, just go around the top of your wreath. Get them equal. Again, you could tie just a simple bow, and since it's wired ribbon, it's very easy to manipulate and kind of form into the shape you want. So you could do that, something simple as that. Or down below. Lots of options. There's also the red if you wanted to do both, or if you wanted to just kind of have, not two bows, but if you just want the red, you can also just put a piece of wire onto this, punch it out like this if you just want the tails, and wire this in. So that's an option if you just wanted like a couple little simple thoughts for the bow and the ribbon. That wasn't the one I glued on it, so I'm gonna glue it on this one. But have fun. Things happen. It's nothing to stress about. I know sometimes people come in and they say they're not creative at all, but they have fun when they look at what they been able to create with just a few items and some fresh foliage. So if you do have any questions when you're creating this, you can feel free to message me on Instagram, email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions if I am available. I'll get back to you right away. But most of all, just have fun and enjoy your wreath, and I hope everyone has a happy holiday. Thank you.